Hey folks, this is a series of videos entitled Atheism is Not a Cipher. The first vid was short, but it implied that when you take away everything and leave just atheism, there's still something left behind, and that is humanity. And in the second, longer Atheism is Not a Cipher, Roman numeral 2, I discussed how atheism is a response to religion. And what we see right over here is the diagram that I used. In this case it looked like this, where atheism was the white form and theism, of course, was surrounding atheism. I mentioned that atheism was a response to religion, but there's more to it than just this. Of course it goes in both directions, so that what you have is you have an interplay, and the relationships between where the lines are drawn is going to be changing as you go. What I'd like to talk about this time around is a bunch of stuff having to do with empathy, sometimes being more important than reason. The problem with reason is that if you have your premises anchored in a certain point, or the value of your premises are anchored at a certain point, then you can arrive at a logical conclusion, even though someone else can arrive at another logical conclusion that can be diametrically opposed to yours. I mentioned this in a previous vid, I don't remember which, probably about Dawkins, the one with is atheism, oh I forget, but what the heck. But anyway, I mentioned the scientist, and she around the time of the AIDS epidemic was beginning, said that the AIDS epidemic was a good thing and that we shouldn't really do anything to stop it because it would kill all the stupid people. Now, if you don't hold much value in human life, this is actually a reasonable conclusion, as long as you also feel that having lots of stupid people die is also good. There is nothing unreasonable about that. It has to do with your premises. And this is somewhat scary. Another example of this type of thing, just the other day I was at lunch with a couple of friends and we were discussing the International Space Station. After a while we basically agreed about how much science was being done and that what were the important points about the space station as far as advancing the feeling that we're doing something, moving forward, exploration, that kind of stuff. And we came to completely different conclusions. I wasn't for it. I was for the Apollo, but not for mission, but not the International Space Station. And my friend was for it. He valued the sense of adventure. He called it a city in space and all these. And I was basically feeling that, we agreed that there wasn't that much science done, mainly human physiology studies for human space exploration. But I felt that, wow, the money could be spent doing unmanned missions. I'm into science, and this isn't science, and this is political and all that kind of stuff. And although we agreed on the fact that all these things were important, we put different values on it. So that was kind of the issue there. This also, I think, occurs with a lot of other issues as far as premises go. I mean, for instance, take free will. That came up in a discussion that I commented about on recently. I think if you look at most philosophy texts, the argument against free will is like playing white against an opponent who does not have a queen. Even if you're an inferior player, you're going to tend to win the argument. On the other hand, most people believe in free will, even though rationally there really isn't a lot to support this notion. The thing about it is, the reason they believe it is, I imagine, is that they feel it, they experience it, it's got to be real. And that's like a lot of the things in science, a lot of erroneous conclusions initially because the common sense answer seemed right but wasn't. And I think the same thing goes for God. I mean, what happens with that is that I think there are some people that basically really do feel and experience spirituality and God is a very profound force, and others that don't, or do but evaluate it as a physiological brain state, and as a result they dismiss it. So what I'm trying to get at is that if you start at a certain point you may come up with different conclusions, but using reason. But there's something that we all share, and that's what, in the first video, Atheism is not a cipher, I was trying to get at, and that is our humanity. And so basically, this would be the notion of that. The atheists and the theists, I don't have my cursor shown here, so I forgot to turn that on. So we'll just say that the white form in the center is the atheist, and the dark faces are the theists. And essentially what happens is there's a common shared experience, and that is human nature. And I think what happens is that on the outer edges, the four corners that you see there, you have the extremes. But within that central region, there is common ground. And I think that's what we should look at. There are lots of issues that religion deals with, and part of what religion is about is it's an anchor. It prevents us from going astray, going too far, adrift, as you are. But the thing about it is it also has problems. I mean, essentially, by holding us in one place, it doesn't let us advance. Snow did a video recently talking about Sharia law and says that it was up to date, and perhaps what he should have meant is it can be brought up to date continually, and I think that's a good thing. But what happens with religion is that it frequently encourages discrimination against women, against homosexuals, and it makes it very hard to update things. On the other hand, it looks out for us in an important way. If you think of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein as an example, the monster is the endearing creature. We are the real monsters because we go too far afield and we do things with science, with life that we shouldn't. And this is a big part about what's involved with abortion and stem cell research. Religion is trying to keep folks anchored. And this can be a good thing, and it can also be a bad thing. And that's where we need to look at some of the common ground between us. So what I'm thinking about here is something that I saw in an exile video recently, a very good one, where she was saying that it's really not very productive to try to encourage a theist or an atheist to switch positions on what they believe. And these may be anchored premises or highly emotionally valued premises in which we really wouldn't be able to do much at all. But what we can do is we can find common ground, and that's the central region here of this figure. And I think that discussions not at the four corners that you see here, those are the extremes, the fundamentalists, the radical extremists, but the larger middle, and there's a diversity of opinion there. But I think open discussion among those folks about what really is important, what is meaningful, it would be just a really terrific thing. And we already have that. And I'm just saying more. But the issue of the value of human life is central to this. And I don't think it's something that needs necessarily to be anchored in religion. I think it's anchored in our biology. In fact, morality, in my opinion, isn't absolute or relative. It is, in a sense, partially relative, but it is anchored in our biology or in religion, which I believe derives from biology. Well, thanks for listening.